Prepare to scold you or hit you. This time, N.A.N forced herself to act against her will. But this way my heart cannot find peace. Wah! Me too. Kuta couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to drag those two guys out and bury one on the east side of the continent and the other on the west side. Even with his discerning eye, he could only vaguely discern that the two were putting on an act with exaggerated flair. But why act at a time like this? Is it just because they think it's fun? As for feelings, it seems there really are. The two of them wished they could just get intimate right there and then. The romantic relationships of young people these days are really complicated. Can his precious daughter outmaneuver these two formidable figures? It's Duchess Romanthal, right? Kuta couldn't help but interrupt. General Kutu, please wait a moment. Helen said politely. Okay, although Kutu was a little confused. Then, a scene that shocked all the wolves present unfolded. Helen wrapped her arms around Perseus's neck and kissed him passionately on the spot. It was, to put it simply, a very adult way of kissing. Even Kutu was too embarrassed to look, let alone those naive wolf cubs. These two really don't hide anything from anyone. More than just sweet affection, it was downright illicit love. Kutu had initially suspected that the two were faking their relationship with ulterior motives, but now it seems. He was undoubtedly overthinking it. It's just a pity for little Luna, forced to witness such a cruel scene. Kutu silently looked away. Well, she seemed to be watching with more fascination than anyone else. The embarrassing and blushing passionate kiss finally ended, and the two of them were panting heavily, as if they had just finished strenuous exercise. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. After catching her breath, Helen's face flushed slightly, but she continued to be polite. It's all right. Kutu was momentarily speechless. First of all, please allow me to express my apologies for my abrupt visit. Someone of your status should give notice and obtain permission a few days in advance if they wish to visit. It's all right, I'm a demi-human. I don't care about your human formalities, Catull said. Thank you for your magnanimity, Helen said again. Perseus is my lover, and regarding his relationship with your daughter, Actually, you disagree? Actually, I have a tolerant attitude. Helen looked at Luna, who was at a loss, and gave her an angelic smile. Miss Luna is the cutest girl I've ever met. Even I can't help but feel fond of her. So, I don't blame Perseus for being a womanizer. What is Cthulhu supposed to say about this? Everyone is praising his daughter for being cute and charming. Humans are so hard to deal with. I hadn't felt this group was so troublesome in a long time. Actually, even if you care, you don't need to worry too much. For the next 6 years, Luna will only be friends with Perseus. There's absolutely no need for that. Two people who clearly like each other should just get together right away, shouldn't they? This was the wish of Luna's late mother. I'm sorry, but since that's the case, we can only respect that. Kutu carefully observed Helen's every micro-expression. Duchess Romanthal, are you really not bothered? Why should I care? Helen asked with a surprised look. Love is about giving, not possessing. I'm already blessed to be able to give him my love. How can I force him to belong to only me? Your level of understanding is truly beyond what ordinary people can achieve. Thank you for the compliment. Kuta realized he couldn't continue the conversation. Although the other person was very polite and what he said seemed reasonable, he just wanted to hit him. That's utter nonsense. Is this reasonable? If he lets these two guys stay here any longer, he's afraid his wolf cubs will be led astray. Luna, are you going to school this afternoon? Kutu asked Luna with a smile. Luna glanced at Perseus and nodded repeatedly. Then go to school. Perfect, you can ride in my car, Helen smiled. If possible, I hope to pick up and drop off Miss Luna every day from now on, since it's on my way anyway. It's a road that goes all the way around the capital, right? Even Perseus couldn't stand such nonsense, and Kutu also politely declined. However, this time it's possible. So Luna happily bid farewell to her father and people, and walked away hand in hand with Perseus Helen. The atmosphere was warm and harmonious, filled with laughter and conversation, like a family of three. Kuta stared at the three figures with eyes wide open in fury. Is this even reasonable? Chapter 35. A date with a beauty. Luna's laughter never stopped on the carriage ride back to the academy. She was originally the kind of arrogant and individualistic werewolf girl who couldn't stand girls like N.A.N, but now she feels a subtle sense of guilt towards them. The more tolerant and friendly Helen was to her, the stronger her guilt became. And she's in love and quite spoiled, so there's no reason for her to look down on her anymore. Helen's charming and shrewd personality allowed her to easily find Luna's sore spots, to the point that the two, who were complete strangers just the day before, are now as close as sisters. Perseus, who had been watching them with a smile the whole time, was not happy to see this scene. He knew perfectly well what kind of person Helen was. This woman is no less wicked than he is. It's obvious that her real purpose in trying to build a good relationship with Luna is not simple. This is not a big deal. Everyone is pursuing their own interests, and there is no competitive conflict at present. But Helen used him to achieve her own goals, which made him very unhappy. He's always the one taking advantage of others, but this time he's the one being taken advantage of, which makes him feel really bad. How can we turn the tide? As she was pondering, Helen looked over with a smile in her eyes. Darling, why are you not saying anything? She asked. Luna also looked over, a cute smile on her face, her big eyes blinking. It's nothing, just a little sentimental, Perseus smiled. I never expected your relationship to suddenly become so good. So, are you happy or unhappy? Of course I'm happy, Perseus said earnestly, looking at them. You are all the most important people to me, and being able to get along like this is something I've always dreamed of. Won't this save you a lot of trouble? Helen winked playfully and said meaningfully. Even Luna understood the hidden meaning in her words, and lowered her head, her face blushing slightly. Little Luna, don't be shy. Sister, Perseus raised an eyebrow. Huh, is there something wrong with this? Helen asked, seemingly surprised. Luna shook her head repeatedly. No, this is fine. After all, you were here first. It's too boring to fuss over such a small thing. I'll be the younger sister. No. I'll be the younger sister. With a few words and a laugh, Helen Keller secured her position as the Empress. Then the two girls became closer. Helen warmly held Luna's little hand. Little Luna, although you can only be friends with him now, don't be shy. Hug him when you want to. Kiss him when you want to. Don't be polite with me. We'll be family from now on. Sister Helen. Luna was both shy and touched. Have you hugged her? Helen asked with a serious expression. Luna nadits chaidi. Have you kissed? Luna shook her head. How about you two kiss right now? Luna was startled, her face instantly turning red to her ears, and she stammered, W want me and him to be like you two were before. Of course you can if you want. Luna stared blankly at Perseus. Perseus gazed at her with deep affection. After a long while, Luna shook her head so hard it was almost blurry. No, I can't do it. I really can't. Why? Don't you like him enough? Helen asked. Of course not. Luna quickly retorted. Why is that? Because I am shy. Luna's voice was barely audible. Her fluffy little head looked like it was about to steam. It's okay, we can take it slow. How about we start with a little kiss on the cheek to break the ice? Once you get used to it, you won't be shy anymore, Helen suggested earnestly. This is fine, Luna nodded slowly. That makes things easier. Helen looked at Perseus, pouting her bright red lips. Darling, you're such a bad guy. You clearly saw how shy Luna was, but you didn't even try to be more proactive. You weren't like this with her back then. What nonsense is she spouting? She was the one who beat him up and then forcibly kissed him. Luna, unaware of the situation, was clearly misled. She cautiously glanced at Perseus, somewhat surprised and disappointed. It seemed she mistakenly believed that she wasn't as charming as Helen Keller, capable of making him irresistibly take the initiative. This is truly a terrible injustice to him. Is it that he doesn't want to take the initiative? But now that things had come to this, Perseus could only casually pick up Luna, place her on his lap, and gently kiss her between the eyebrows. Luna's eyes widened. Then she smiled foolishly. So cute. I want a hug too, Helen protested. Perseus offered her one thigh. Fortunately, both girls were petite. If it were Ivisa or Lovia, their long legs would probably have nowhere to go. Helen gave Perseus a gentle kiss. Seeing this, Luna finally mustered up her courage, closed her eyes, and kissed Perseus on the lips. Perseus was shocked. Hopefully she won't let it slip when she gets home. In a daze, he heard his father-in-law's terrifying roar again. Amidst laughter and surprise, we arrived at the academy. With a little time left before the end of lunch break, Perseus ran into Winnie in the classroom. She was sitting in his usual seat. Clearly she wanted to see him. Before he could speak, Winnie glanced at Helen and Luna beside him, and said with a complicated expression, They're at your apartment, and want you to come over. Thank you for waiting so patiently to deliver this message. I don't care. I have nothing better to do anyway. Winnie got up, dusted herself off, and left his seat, then patted his back with the same hand, as if nothing had happened. I just hope your private life can be a little simpler. After all, you're still a student. Being more restrained won't do you any harm. Thank you for your guidance, Professor Winnie. Helen smiled and put her arm around Perseus's. Winnie pretended not to hear and quickly walked away. You two wait for me in the classroom. I'll be right back, Perseus said to Helen and Luna. Both women stared at him longingly, seemingly unwilling to part with him. An ordinary man might not be able to handle taking them along, but Perseus wasn't that cowardly. Each person gets a kiss. Whoever disobeys is considered unreasonable. Luna is easy to handle, but Helen is not. But she couldn't make a difference on her own and could only suffer a crushing defeat. Perseus suddenly realized he could use this. He might put on a show in front of Luna, but isn't he the same with this woman? In order not to reveal her true colors, Miss Helen should know when to make which choice is the right one, right? Haha, that's interesting. When Perseus returned to his apartment, he saw Jerome standing outside his room like a doorman. Your Highness Jerome, Perseus nodded in acknowledgement. They're inside, Jerome said expressionlessly. Then what about me? Jerome showed no sign of moving aside, his gaze deep and intense. Perseus, I've heard about your affair with Duchess Romanthal. Perseus's heart skipped a beat. Is this guy going to turn evil and try to steal his woman? This child must not be allowed to live. Jerome, standing tall and imposing like a gatekeeper, cautiously glanced around, then suddenly leaned close to Perseus's ear. Is this also part of your plan to restore Miss Ivice's reputation? Thank you for your hard work. It's nothing, it's what I should do. Perseus smiled. What is he worrying about for no reason? Go in. Jerome stepped aside and opened the door, watching him leave with admiration and respect. Ivica and Mellifera, who were sitting side by side on his bed chatting, had been waiting for a long time. At this moment, only one question was on Perseus's mind. Why wasn't he that bad? Chapter 36, Looking to the Future. Perseus, we apologize for coming uninvited. You don't mind, do you? Mellifera smiled. Of course I don't mind. Perseus bowed. Your Highness's presence is an honor to my humble abode. I should be the one apologizing for not being able to even offer you a cup of tea. It's all right, we just going to take a look. Mellifera gestured to the chair in front of her. Please sit down. Thank you. After Perseus was seated, Mellifera smiled and spoke. We had a great lunch. How about you? Very good. That's good. How about Miss Luna? She's all right now. Perseus smiled. Mellifera nodded. That puts my mind at ease. Perseus glanced at Ivica casually. She seemed completely oblivious to the conversation, staring blankly at the corner of the room. So you two are staying in this room? Mellifera looked around the room, her tone enigmatic. Yes, Perseus said, but she sleeps in the bed alone. So where do you sleep? On the floor. Ceiling. Mellifera covered her mouth and chuckled, seemingly finding him quite humorous. These days, it's rare to hear the truth and nobody believes you. Actually, our place is quite spacious, with many empty rooms that can be moved into with just a little tidying up. If you don't mind, you could bring Ivica over. Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness, but I really can't accept it. Aren't we friends? Friends should help each other. You're being too formal by saying that. Perseus looked somewhat troubled. Mellifera understood immediately. Of course I know. You are a nobleman of the Zalynria Empire, and we're the royal family of the Infero Kingdom. Your living with us will definitely attract some gossip. I can certainly handle this small matter. After all, His Highness invited us at the risk of being criticized. I'm really glad you're so considerate. However, my agreement alone is probably not enough. Although Ivica is nominally my slave, I have always regarded her as my family. I need to ask for her opinion. The two met eyes. Ivica, what do you think? Mellifera asked. I think it's quite nice to stay here. Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness, Ivica said calmly. All right, since that's the case, I won't force you. You can speak up whenever you change your mind. Mellifera smiled helplessly. Definitely. Perseus bowed slightly. Afternoon classes are about to start. Shall we go to the classroom? Mellifera stood up. The three left the room and walked towards the teaching building with Jerome. The afternoon passed quickly without any major incidents. The only unusual thing was that Perseus's other seat was occupied by his girlfriend, Helen. That's perfectly reasonable. Mellifera looked at Luna, who was smiling broadly on Perseus's lap, smiled slightly, and sat down directly behind Perseus. After school, Perseus bid a reluctant farewell to his girlfriend and his potential girlfriend. At night, Perseus and Ivica sat side by side on the bed. Tell me, what kind of feast did Her Highness the Princess treat you to?